This episode is sponsored by UPMC Altoona Elite Orthopedics. UPMC Altoona Elite Orthopedics is proud to support youth sports across our region and proud to sponsor the 2023 high school football preview on the Altoona Mirror YouTube channel. To learn more about their board-certified orthopedic surgeons and the wide range of orthopedic conditions they treat, or to schedule an appointment in one of their facilities in Hollidaysburg or Bedford, visit upmcaltoona.com/ortho or call 814-889-3600.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Week 14 of the High School Football Show here on Altoona Mirror TV on YouTube TV. It's Thanksgiving week. We're still talking football, so that's good for a couple teams from our coverage area and one also in close to our coverage area.
They're in the Blitz magazine.
They're in the Blitz magazine, so we count them. I am joined just by Mike Boydham this week. Andy is on assignment, I guess. We do have a note from Andy's on vacation. We do have a note Andy wants to read before we go off the air here. But Mike Boydham, football guru, Scott Franco,
We're
your
kicking
host.
it old school. That's
Yeah,
right.
if you guys go way back to like 2019, I think Mike and I were like in the middle of the table. I think we were on a side. And I think like Pat Waxmonski or was it Sarah? They used to just come in, turn the camera on, and leave. Whereas Dan Eisenberg stays with us, though. He's there for us behind the camera the whole time. But yeah, old school, just the two of us. You can play the Bill Withers song there in the background, Dan. You can get it without getting sued by people. We're going to talk about our first two games. Teams you're going to know about. Central, the 6-1 champ, and they are playing from District 10 Hickory. Mike's got information for us on Hickory, and this is at Mansion Park Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday night 7. What can you tell everybody about Hickory?
So yeah, you don't have to travel too far to see this game. Last year, Central had to go the whole way up to Grove City, and the way the state playoff brackets work is they flip. So Central gets to be close to home this year, and I know that there were lots of complaints over the last few years about Central always going up to District 10, so they should really enjoy the being close to home this time. Get a big crowd out there.
Yeah. And explain to people that this is predetermined. Like next year, if Central gets this far, they will.
Well, they could be up there, but next year is the beginning of a new cycle, so the brackets could be completely different. And that's what happened a couple of years ago. They were like, well, why did we play here twice? It was because it was in the middle of a bracket session and it had gotten flipped, so they ended up playing on District 10 ground 2 years in a row. But now it's finally in the same cycle so that they are good to go. So if this game is next year, who knows what could be, but then the next year it would definitely be the opposite of what it is next year.
Go ahead.
But as far as Hickory goes, they've been in this position a couple times. They've played Central twice. They went 1-1. They played Tyrone twice. They went 1-1. So the District 6 and District 10 teams in this spot, the District 6 teams have had some success here. Central's obviously won the last couple of years against the District 10 team and made it to the state semifinals the last 2 years. So this is a game that they've been successful in.
And how good is it that they played a close game last week, too? So, because they had that week off, they play a game, and it goes down to the wire. So, I mean, I think that would, if you're Dave Baker and his staff, they got to love that they were prepped, they had their backs against the wall, and boom, because you got to think that as you go on, you're going to get tougher and tougher teams.
Oh, yeah. And you're talking about a team that, how impressive is it that they are back in this spot? I mean, when they lost Jeff Hohenstein and Eli Lingenfelder, we were all like, I mean, they had some good players on this team, but I don't think anyone thought Eli Mudler was going to come in and throw for, he's thrown for almost 3,000 yards, 31 touchdown passes. I mean, there's nobody even in that stratosphere in our coverage area. I mean, the Carson Nagel is just outside the coverage area for Bald Eagle area. He has some numbers like that, but as far as teams in our core coverage area, I mean, they've just done a great job. It's been super impressive, but I think Hunter Smith last week had a nice game. He's only 23 yards away from 1,000 yards rushing on the season, and this kid just does everything. I think he's kind of the glue that has held from last year's team over to this year's team and has allowed this whole thing to keep going.
So, like next year, whenever we start next year, we're going to think, oh, now they lost Hunter Smith to graduation. They're probably not. And then you and I will be back here again going, first, why is Stein taking vacation again for this show? And two, how is Central still playing? Because, like you even pointed out in your own story, what was it, the tight end, the wide receiver who didn't even play till they were seniors,
Jack Dunn and Jacob Bent.
And now they're really good. So that means right now there are two kids that Mike and I don't know. Mike probably knows about them. That next year they'll be playing. It'll be like, they didn't play. They played JVs and junior high.
Mudler will be back again next year to carry her. As long as you have like that link to bring the teams together and everything. And kind of as far as Hickory's team, I looked at some of their stats. They don't have some of the mind-blowing stats that they've had in years past. I remember the one year Tyrone played them. They had a running back that had just a ton of yards and monster numbers. They don't have any of those players this year. I know it was very sad for you to see Hickory knock off Sharon because we won't get to see Mr. Ham in this game.
Mr. Ham will not be in Blair County. And I'm actually off Friday night, but I don't know if I'll recover it after the Jets-Dolphins game.
And just think Mr. Ham playing right after Thanksgiving.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean,
that would have been...
He would be bummed, though, because
the possibilities.
Ham's more of a Christmas thing.
I would also have gone down to the field, even if they lost it. Can I get my photo taken with you?
But Hickory did lose to Sharon earlier in the season and came back and avenged that loss in the district championship. So this is a team that is playing its best football right now. So,
and speaking of great transition to our next game, the Class 2A quarterfinals. Incidentally, the Central is Class 3A quarterfinals. Class 2A quarterfinals, Bald Eagle area at Southern Columbia. Bald Eagle, the 6-1 champ, Southern Columbia, the 4-1 champ. Explain now why Southern Columbia gets to host this and it's not at a neutral.
Well, Central could have probably hosted this other game, but it's not a grass. The PIAA doesn't really like non-grass fields. I mean, they don't like grass fields, is what I mean.
This time of year.
This time of year, you never know what the weather's going to be. So, obviously, with Roaring Spring Athletic Field being grass, they'd probably rather play that at Mansion, get a bigger crowd, where Southern Columbia, Bald Eagle, they're able to host. Last year, actually, Southern Columbia, if you remember, came to Mansion Park and played BG. So this is Bald Eagle area fans who are upset about traveling. Southern Columbia came here last year, so it's equal the way they do this.
And they're a factory. I mean, Southern Columbia is just and as good as Bald Eagle is this year. And like I said, I was talking to my brother John Franco, the Tyrone coach. He went and watched the game. He last week they beat Richland 49-0. It was 35-0 at halftime. I mean, Richland usually does not lose games in a district championship. 49-0. That's how good Bald Eagle area is. They talk about the Southern Columbia.
Well, and how close was Bald Eagle area? How close was Penn Cambria to beating Central in the district championship? And Bald Eagle area just beating them 46-0. So Bald Eagle area is playing out of their minds right now. It's just a question of whether they can get past this buzzsaw. It's just like we talked about last week with Northern Bedford, who was, having a great season and heck of an effort, by the way. I think we can both say a great effort for Northern Bedford. But sometimes you just run into a buzzsaw this time of year, and that was Stilton High Spire in 1A, and it's been Southern Columbia in 2A for a long time. And for anybody asking, hey, what about the success points? Why haven't they gotten pushed up or anything? They've gotten to the stage where they were supposed to be pushed up a couple times, but they've won appeals because they don't have, according to their numbers, they don't have any transfer players, and that's part of the thing. You can win the state championship every year, but if you don't have any players transferring in,
they're just really good football players that live in Southern Columbia, and they go out for football. But Bold Eagle area, here's the one thing, if you're anybody out there who's doubting, they're not just winning games, they're obliterating.
Oh, yeah.
Teams.
And good teams.
And good teams, so it's not like, no, this is their quarterback, the Nagel kid? Is he that underclassman?
Yeah.
How about the Dubs kid?
Yeah, he's a senior.
Okay.
But Carson Nagel, he'll be back next year. The thing about them is they have so many different wide receivers, so many different people you can throw the ball to. Our stat sheets for the Mirror, they only have a certain amount of spots for wide receiver, and every time I cover Bald Eagle area, I start writing down into the white space below that because there's not enough room for all the people that catch passes for them. The one thing, though, I'll say about this game is, if you look at the final score of last year's BG Southern Columbia, it doesn't look like it was a good game. But if you remember, BG was in that game
and driving
in the second half, so they
was a kind of
got away from them at the end there. But that proves, a District 6 team can compete with Southern Columbia. So all hope is not lost for Bald Eagle area, especially the way that they've been playing.
In Southern Columbia, do they not run that kind of funky offense where it's just they throw maybe 2 passes a game?
Yeah, they do run a lot, but it's been just so consistently good. I mean, it's funny because, some people say that Penn State fans are spoiled because they're not happy with a 10-2 season. If Southern Columbia ever went 10-2, there'd probably be.
They'd have to fire their offensive coordinator probably at Southern Columbia. That would make it better because it seems some teams around here do that in the collegiate and professional level. Going to our next game Saturday at Williamsburg High School, which Cambria Heights fans, that's not that far. It's a 2-hour drive. 2 hours, and it's a better drive than going to Pittsburgh. Mike went to college up there. Mike will tell you that. Cambria Heights 6-1 versus 4-1 South Williamsport. What you found out some information about South Williamsport this year?
Yeah, South Williamsport. We talk a lot about how Cambria Heights, you shouldn't watch them from the beginning of the season because they've gotten so much better. You might as well, if you have tape of South Williamsport's first 4 games, you may as well just throw it in the trash because this is a team that's completely changed its look and its players that have been real big contributors. They have a player, Kaiser Kistner, who had to be a finalist for a cool name. I mean, but he kind of came in the middle of the season and has really taken a lot of carries and done a good job. They're a run-heavy team. When they won their game last week, they did not attempt to pass because we all know the weather in Pennsylvania wasn't too great last Friday, and they didn't want to take any chances. They ran the ball, and they did a great job. They went through a quarterback change in the middle of the season, and that's kind of stabilized things. It's helped them cut back on their turnovers because they really have struggled with turnovers this year. And that's something that still haunts them a little bit with their running backs' ball security. So if Cambria Heights can get a couple turnovers in this game, that could really sway the way the game goes.
And Cambria Heights, they basically run them, or is there a mix with their own?
This
game could be over real quick.
This game is interesting, though, because they're 2 similar teams, and where South Williamsport wants to run the ball, that's what they want to do. But they can throw the ball. They had a game where their quarterback threw for maybe 240 yards recently, which was, I believe, a school record. They have a nice program at South Williamsport. Their coach there is their current coach is the winningest coach in school history. And Cambria Heights, as we know, they want to run the ball, But this year, they don't have anybody that has 1,000 yards for their running backs. They've spread it around a little bit more. And their quarterback has almost 1,000 yards passing, which is almost unheard of at Cambria Heights. So this year, both teams are similar, and they want to run, but they can hurt you at the pass.
But you will have to check with a good friend of yours, Mike, Bill Marshall. Bill Marshall, I'm pretty sure, was a Cambria Heights quarterback back in the mid-'80s when I worked there when I was in college. And he might have some records as far as throwing the ball when he was at Cambria Heights. But the last couple of years, didn't Cambria Heights have like the Tribus kid and some other kids that ran? Yeah. That's why I thought good for this team and good for Coach Lewis, because I thought like last year, maybe the year before, Cambria Heights, that was going to be their year to be really...
Well, it's funny because, as we all remember, I spent the entire season last year saying that Cambria Heights was going to win the district title.
He did.
You have not heard
That's where I got that from.
You've not heard me say that once this year because, hey, everyone said I jinxed them last year. Well, they won the district title. Congratulations. I was a year late on my pick. I was a year early on my pick. But I will tell you this, I didn't want to bring it up. But now that it's been brought up, I didn't want to talk about it, but they dropping down to 1A, I knew that this Cambria Heights team was going to be right in the mix of things, not because they're bigger than anybody else or anything like that. That's not the case. They are a legit 1A school, but they were playing above their heads for a lot of years, and they had success there, especially under Coach Lewis. In 2020, they played for a 2A district title, lost to Richland. But whenever they got down to 1A, it was very obvious that they could have a chance to win a district title. And it's nice to see them pull it off this year. It's kind of funny because I think maybe Cambria Heights going into last year was the team that we thought was going to win the district title. Northern Cambria knocked them off and won. And then this year, everyone's like, well, Northern Cambria's got it again because they won last year. And Cambria Heights knocked them off.
Well, real quick, just we can go back on these two. If Cambria Heights wins, who they get? Who's the other rec?
Well, that was that they're going to see someone familiar because they'll either play Lackawanna Trail or Steelton High Spot.
Well, then how about jump back real quick? Central Hickory. If Central wins, who does Central?
That they could have a rematch against Bell Vernon, who they played last year, or Avonmore.
Yeah. And then same way, Bold Eagle. I mean, gosh, if you beat Southern Columbia, you should just beat Bold Eagle. Go, that's it. We beat them. But who would they get then?
Yeah, Bold Eagle. They have. They're going to be their toughest game. If they win this game, they'll be considered the favorite to win the state championship, I would think, because the state championship always goes through Southern Columbia.
Yeah. And then we're going to go right down to our fun stuff. First, we're going to go Mike's stat of the week, and Mike says he has an interesting stat of the week.
Yeah, the stat of the week this week is just that it was kind of touched on a little bit earlier. Cambria Heights has just really spread it around this year, and I think that makes them a more dangerous team. They have 6 different players who have at least 150 yards rushing. Stephen Nealon leads the way. By the way, him and Hunter are cousins. They are not brothers. Ray Eckenrode wanted me to point that out. I think we had that mixed
Cambria
up
Heights
in one
aficionado.
Yes. So Stephen Nealon leads the way. Jackson Klein, Trey Tribus, Luke Moraney, Garrett Jasper, and Marshall Eckenrode all have at least 150 yards rushing. And so to get on the stat list that we run every week, you have to have at least 100 yards. And I'm pretty sure Cambria Heights has the most names on that list.
And then before we get to our Andy's message from vacation, we have Andy's Mo Valley helmet as that's representing where Andy would be. But real quick, we try to get Gary Black. Mike had talked about Northern Bedford. Gary Black was going to come and join us this week because it's parent-teacher conference this night for Northern Bedford. He put teaching ahead of entertaining Mike and I and Dan for the show, which is, hey, there you go, Northern Bedford people. If you didn't love the guy already, as much as he loves football, he tried, but he said he could not. It's parent-teacher conference night, but we appreciated that Gary thought about coming. And again, the game against Steel High last week, I mean, I don't think people realized it was 21-7, but it was closer than 21-7.
And he also posted on Facebook, I saw that they were in the weight room working the underclassmen this weekend. So he's already getting back to trying to get back there next year.
And also, real quick, I think we have a close shot of this. We actually got stuff given to us. It's a Claysburg Kimmel. Mike, Dan, and I think it's a tattoo.
Like a maybe a tattoo. Yeah, something like or maybe like you could like put it on
in your car
and
window.
It'll stick on your shirt or something like that.
It's a Claysburg Kimmel boy. It was given to us by a guy who works here with us, Grant Long. He's in the Elton Mirror Internet Department. He always comes over and talks sports with me, and he brought something. I didn't even ask for it. That's what makes it even such a nicer gesture. And because I usually go around asking everybody. We were looking for Thanksgiving decorations, but the Mirror office has already jumped over Thanksgiving. It's Christmas out there right now.
And Claysburg, we talked about them a little bit this season. They really got their season derailed there when Mason Campagna got injured, their quarterback. And they just really never recovered from that. But he's an underclassman, and maybe they'll get some big things next year.
And they always give us stuff, too. And now we have Andy's message from vacation. I have to read it as the way he wrote it to us. As we all know, it is a big week for everyone with Thanksgiving. I have taken this week off to mentally prepare and focus on the massacre that's going to occur in the Stein household kitchen Thursday afternoon. The fight between the Stein family and the turkey will be reminiscent of Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed going 15 rounds. Please pray for my family as we prepare to fight this slobber knocker. And because it's Thanksgiving and it should be a lineman's favorite holiday, if you are a lineman who watches this show, you are on my line of the week. Congratulations on this outstanding achievement. If Central or Cambria Heights should win this week, I will return to the program next week with my head high after a victorious battle on Thursday with my family. Good luck to Central and Heights this week, and we're going to have a show next week regardless of the wins or losses for our local teams. But your friend in the trenches, Andy Stein. And now to the part that actually Michael is looking forward to, this our cool name segment.
I wanna know, what's the name of the game?
As I was looking for the cool names, I thought I'm going to pick Hickory and South Williamsport because they're playing Central and Cambria Heights. So for Hickory, I came up with a wide receiver cornerback on the team. His name is Jamarian. That's his first name. That's all right. But his last name is Husband. And yes, just like it sounds, just like it's spelled right in front of you. Jamarian Husband. And I just think that's a cool last name. I think it'd be cool if someday in college he meets a girl whose last name is Wife. Or maybe they pronounce it Weefe, but it's Wife. But that's what I'm at. Now, secondly, when Mike and I were talking before the show, Mike said, I was doing my research on South Williamsport. He goes, they have a kid's name who is the quarterback.
Yes, this is why I did not mention this earlier, but the guy who took over as quarterback.
He was a running back linebacker at the beginning of the year, but he switched, Mike said, to quarterback. His name is...
No, go ahead. I don't want to steal your thunder.
Lusk. Tad Lusk. I thought he'd be playing lacrosse or something like that, or maybe he was in the water polo team. But this kid is a quarterback linebacker. He's a junior. Tad.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring up his name earlier. Didn't want to ruin, but he's thrown 15 touchdown passes, and that's only playing half season. He came in during the Canton game. The first time they played, they were losing like 29-7. He came in. They came the whole way back. I think they lost like 29-27. He led them the way back. And then the next time they played Canton in the playoffs, who's a real good team at stopping the run, he had a great passing game and was able to lead them to a victory, and it's part of the reason they're here. But I couldn't mention him because it had a cool name.
It was a cool name. But we have to hope this kid goes to an Ivy League school like Harvard, Yale, Dartmouth, Cornell. Tad, good job today, Tad. And he'd be like, thank you, Biff. I really appreciate that. But that's going to do it for our cool name segment. We'll be back next week. If we're just doing a wrap-up show, I don't know if we can do a cool name segment. We'll have to discuss that with the big boss, the honcho, Mr.
Oh,
Riddell.
no. What would we do without
I know. And then Dan wants to give us a shout-out.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Justin Heidler and Jeremy Shaw for giving us some love on Twitter last week for last week's show. And good luck for Central this week. And just circling back around, we were saying about the glue that brings this Central offense together year over year. It's been consistent for so many years. I don't think A.J. Hohenstein gets near enough love for running that offense for as many years as he had, going back to when he was the head coach of the team and then stepped down and Dave Baker came in and took over. He's been a constant with that program for so many years now, and I'd like to give him a little shout out and give him the love that he deserves.
He's what Penn State fans wanted Mike Yurchik to be, right? And what Steeler fans wanted Matt Canada to be. We have maybe A.J. Hohenstein that we could say, I don't think A.J. likes Penn State. I don't know. You probably know better than I do. Is he a Penn State fan?
I think he is.
He's got to be a Steeler fan. I'd be stunned if he wasn't. But I don't want to lose A.J.
I don't know. I don't think Dave Baker would ever use A.J. Hohenstein as a scapegoat.
No. Ooh, political commentary. Love it. Love it. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. For Andy Stein, for Mike Boyden, for Dan Osborne behind the camera, I'm Scott Franco. Have fun this weekend. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Or should I go back this way, Dan? Like, share, and subscribe.
The second way.
See you, everybody.